started from this demand here, because this is the demand that has caused a really nice volume. And you can see that there's basically no inefficiency below this demand. I mean, this is the only inefficient candle here in this region. There's basically no inefficiency. There's no inefficiency. So this movement is efficient. This is the only inefficient region, right? There was inefficiency in between this candle and in between this candle. So this was a volume candle, meaning this is the only demand that has caused the change of character here. So I did set a limit order. I did set a limit order on the full body, because the full body could cover the area with 2.5 pip stop loss easily. I was targeting, first of all, this high point here. I was targeting this high point here. And, you know, at this point, I had two limit orders. First, a short, and second, a long. I've been tagged in the long here. So I've been tagged in the long. It was running nicely, pretty nice, perfect rejection and reaction on the exact limit order. Then it tagged me in the short too. So I had two positions at the same time, long and the short. Both of them were correct and both of them were valid, because the short had a chance to run down to the 50% and to sweep out this liquidity here. Long had the chance too, because it swept out a huge amount of liquidity here and changed the character aggressively to the upside. So both of them were extremely valid and correct to execute. And yeah, that's when I replaced. I mean, after the change of character here or liquidity creation here, I placed back my limit order on the 50%, because that's when the 50% becomes alive again after a full zone mitigation. There's an educational topic video about this section. I mean, there's an educational video about this topic. So yeah, at this point, I had two running positions. It was hesitating, it was ranging. And at this point, I just saw that price is forming this liquidity here. So basically it formed this liquidity and it has been formed for the 50% of this zone. It has been formed for the 50% of this zone. So at this point, I did set my limit order. I mean, did set my long order to break even. It was in break even. And I placed another limit order on the 50% of this region. So how did it look like at this exact moment? Basically, I had a limit order. I mean, I had two running positions. The short at this time, I did set it to break even. The long was in break even. And I had another limit order here on the 50% because there was liquidity creation inside of the at the top of the 1 minute region. So, you know, exact same position as it happened here. There are educational topic videos about everything you see here. Basically, it's part of the core strategy. So yeah, at this point, I had two running positions, both in break even, and I had another limit order here. Basically, the reason I placed the limit order here is because it granted a nicer risk-reward ratio and much better position to enter on. And there was a chance that price will sweep this liquidity into this region and react on the 50%. So at this point, I will play price forward. It swept me out in break even. So the first long position that has been opened here swept me out in break even. And the second tagged me in. So I was in the second. It reacted pretty nicely. It was an insanely strong rejection and reaction. But at this point, at the same time, the short position swept me out in break even too. So at this point, I had two break evens. And the long was running nicely. It was running pretty nicely. But at this point, it rejected on something. Later, I found the rejectional point. And at this point, it just swept me out in break even too. So I took 3 break even positions. All of them were pretty valid. I will count the criteria too. But the thing I found here is that what price rejected on, it rejected on the extreme 1 minute supply inside of the 5 minute supply here. So basically, it could have been an entry point. In lifetime, I admit it, I didn't see it. I didn't see this supply. There was liquidity below it. There was perfect liquidity below it. Basically, this was the liquidity line built up for this extreme supply. So it could have been used as an entry limit order point because it wasn't formed in lunchtime too. So it was basically a perfect entry point in lifetime. I didn't see it. And yeah, basically at this point, I was focused on the long. So I didn't really care about the shorts anymore. This was the only short position I cared about. And I didn't really see this short position here. And yeah, I took 3 big break evens. That's it. Super valid break evens. And let me just climb the criteria pretty quickly. So the first short trade that I executed had, let me just climb the criteria. First criteria was the higher time frame mitigation here. Second criteria was the inefficiency here started from this candle. So once again, I'm counting the criteria for the first short trade opened here. Third criteria was basically the pro order flow. I mean, both of the trades were pro order flow. I mean, literally both of the trades. But if I wanted to count it, I would count the long trade as a pro order flow trade, because, you know, 5 minutes just literally change the character to the upside, and 50-minute change the character to the upside here also, and we mitigated the 50-minute zone and change the character to the upside on a 1-minute time frame too. So if you want to count it, then the short trade was a counter trend trade. The short trade was a counter trend trade, counter order flow trade. But anyways, double change of character has happened because price change character here on this first line and change character here on this second line. Sorry, this was a change of character point. So yeah, there was a strong change of character even for this trade. But anyways, even if you counted it as a pro or a counter trend trade, both of them were valid. So third criteria was the liquidation, you know, perfect liquidation here for the higher time frame zone, perfect liquidation here for the higher time frame zone also. Fourth criteria was, what did I miss? First is the higher time frame mitigation, second inefficiency. Yeah, third change, sorry, fourth is the change of character, First is the higher time frame mitigation, second is the inefficiency, third is the liquidation, fourth is the pro trend. Yeah, fifth criteria was the change of character or strong change of character at this point. Sixth criteria was the 50% mitigation here of the higher time frame zone. Seventh criteria was the V-shape rejection on this zone, perfect V-shape coming up, sweeping the liquidity, rejecting a V-shape. Eighth criteria, price wasn't coming from unmitigated opposite-sided area. This is not a criteria for this trade because price basically mitigated the deeper region of this demand, but still not the 50%. But still we can count it as a criteria, right? So that is not the eighth criteria. Eighth criteria was the combined liquidation here. Nine criteria was basically we could count the strong pro because we could count both. I mean, we could count this criteria for both of the trades because both shorts and long movements were the exact same strength. Upside, downside were both creating inefficient movements. So yeah, I will count it as 9 criteria and the 10 criteria. Or if you don't want to count it as 9 criteria, you don't want, then you not count it as a 9 criteria. But that was the 9 criteria either. The liquidity target on the upside here, perfect liquidity target, right? So yeah, it was a 9 or 10 criteria trade for me, which was pretty valid. That's why I entered there. And for the long, let me just count the long criteria quickly. Okay. Counting long criteria. So there was a higher time frame mitigation here. First criteria. Perfect. Second criteria, inefficiency. Perfect. Second. Third criteria was basically, it was a pro trend trade, right? Because 50-minute change character. So it was the third criteria. Fourth criteria was the liquidation. Perfect liquidation has happened here. All of this liquidity has been wiped into the deep region of this demand. So that was the fourth criteria, this liquidation. Fifth criteria was the change of character to the upside. Here was the change of character. Sixth criteria was that actually there was no 50% mitigation. The sixth criteria was the deeper mitigation. I mean, not deeper mitigation, V-shape rejection here because price was coming down and then immediately reversed with a V-shape. Seventh criteria was price. Basically, it wasn't coming from an unmitigated higher time frame opposite sided zone because this was only a 1-minute area. At this point, there was no higher time frame zone. So that's the 7th criteria. 8th criteria was a strong pro-corrective pullback. 9 criteria was the combined liquidation here. And the 10th criteria was the liquidity to target. And sorry, for the short trade, I didn't mean to say, show this liquidity to target. For the short trade, this was the liquidity target, right? So this double bottoms was the liquidity target for the short trade. And for the long trade, that liquidity there was the liquidity to target. So both of the trades were 9 to 10 criteria. That's why I took and executed both of them. I tried this hedging where opening two positions, two different direction positions at the same time. One of them should work out, but actually all of them ended up in a break even. That's it basically. After this point, price just kept going to the downside, and the second part of the plan didn't work out where we were expected a reaction here on the 50% and the reversal to the upside. Price just kept melting down. And yeah, that's when I said that it's end of the session for me, because there's no point to sit here and watch price figure out the direction, because at this point price didn't really knew where to go. So yeah, that's it for these trades. Hope it makes sense to you. Hope you could understand them, and take care, guys. Cheers.